So let's get started with zylab13. The purpose of this video is to get you a basic class created, class definition created, and to show you what the output is supposed to look like from a completed zylab13. So if you've watched the other videos and worked through the chapter, you know how to create a class definition by now. You can see here in the instructions for zylab13 that we have to have a constructor method that sets the name attribute of our class to Louis and sets the GPA to 1.0. So I'm going to help you do that, and then I will write a little bit of code to show you how to get the first set of output that is described right here after the import guard. And the rest of this will be up to you. So here we go. So we'll start out our class definition, and it's supposed to be named student. Okay, and there we are. If you remember, the constructor method is double underscore init double underscore, then a parentheses, and then self is the instance that gets passed to every method of our class. So when I hit enter, you'll notice that I'm double indented. So that makes what I'm writing part of the constructor method, and the attribute is supposed to be named name. So self dot name equals, and that name, according to the instructions, is supposed to be set to Louis. I'm going to try to just copy that and paste it and see if I can get away with that so that I don't typo it. Okay, so I've got Louis there. And the other attribute is supposed to be GPA, self.GPA equals 1.0. And so that's all that I'm going to do of that class. Well, I suppose I could write a setter method for name, but actually for this first one, all we need is a getter method for name. So let me just do that much for you here. So I'll start another method right here underneath. You notice I backspaced to get so that I am single indented under the class definition and def, and this is going to be get name. And remember, every method of our class has to get past self. Okay, and all we've got to do here is return the name. Return self.name, and that's it. That's a getter method. So you have other methods that are going to need to get written for this class in zylab13. I'm going to do the import guard so you know what that's supposed to look like. That is going to be an if statement. If double underscore name double underscore equals double underscore main double underscore. Okay, there's our import guard statement. If you'll notice in the instructions, it says down here, after the import guard, your code must create an instance of a student class, print the name using the getter method, a space followed by a slash, another space, and the GPA using the GPA getter. So if we go back here, all right, if I wanted to get to the name attribute of this, first I've got to create an instance of my class. So I'm going to call this student1 equals student. So that creates an instance. This line right here creates an instance of my student. This code here is going to run. So that student1 now has a name attribute of Louis. It has a GPA attribute of 1.0. So how could I get to that? I would do something like this. Print student1 dot, and what's my accessor method name? Get name. Accessor or getter method. Okay, so get name, like so. Let's just try that and see if that much works. Okay, you can see it's printing out Louis. So everything right here is working. Now, for the rest of this code to be right, remember that according to the instructions here, it has to be followed by a space and then a slash, a space and then a slash, and then another space and the GPA. So if I wanted to get to that right here, every time you put a comma in a print statement, you get a space. So that works out pretty well. And here I'm going to do a quote and another quote, and that gets me my slash, and then here's my other space. Okay, now we have not written a getter method for the GPA, but hopefully you would know how to write another method to get the GPA attribute, and it would go right here. So once you've finished this, you need to create another instance of a student. I would just name mine, if I were doing it, I'd name it student2 equals student. So down here underneath, I would have something like this. And whatever your class name is right here. So I would create another student, and then I would, if you'll read the instructions, you're going to have to use some setter methods that haven't been written yet. But if you come up here and read, you can see you need a method to set the name. It's right here, sorry. You need a method to set the name. You need a method to set the GPA. Notice that they take two parameters, self and a comma and name, and self and a comma and GPA. And so you're going to need to call those methods. You're going to need to call those methods after you've instantiated your class here. So just go ahead and instantiate that. So here, before I can ever print anything out, I'm going to have to call some methods that haven't been written yet. Student2.set name. Actually, I think they did it this way. Okay. Now remember, when we call this method, when we called this one, did we pass self to it? We did not. When we're calling the method, or actually using it, we don't put self inside those parentheses. It's only up here. But if I want to set the name, I'm going to have to do something like this. And I think the other one is supposed to be Felix. Okay. Now, this set name method has not been written yet. You've got to do that. I'm not going to do it for you. Once you have that, you're going to have to set the GPA, and then you're going to have to do another print like this, except it will be with student 2's information. So let me show you what this looks like when it runs correctly. Okay, I'm going to clear that. It's got to be named main .py, obviously. I'm going to drag this down a little bit where you can see right there. Okay, that's as much as I'm going to show you. But when I run it, you can see this is what comes out right here. There's this first student and its GPA, and here's where the student 2 got name got printed, and student 2's GPA. And so that is zylab13. I wish you the best getting that to work, and good luck.